Here's 5 dark facts about slave ships that they didn't teach you in history class part 2. So I want to answer this question real quick, it's a good one. And before I have people saying that this is proof that slave ships weren't that bad or they didn't exist or something, this is actually enslaved people that were freed, and this is a rare photo of them back in like the 1860s, I believe. But they're actually being transported back to Africa. But even so, you can tell that that's just so many people crowded into that one deck that they got in one go. And if they had to lay down below deck like I described in the other video, how bad the conditions would be. But to get back to the question about the food, so essentially they fed the enslaved people with buckets or troughs. The enslaved people would have to scrape out the food with their fingers, which would usually be either cornmeal mixed with water, gruel, which was like cornmeal, oats, and water, but it was kind of soupy and usually kind of moldy for them. Occasionally they would give them beans to give them protein, but they would always give them the rotten ones, and sometimes occasional rotten pieces of fish or really heavily salted meat. In most cases they were fed twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, and there would be some that would refuse to eat as a way of trying to end their lives, that way they didn't have to go through slavery. But that's when the crew would then try to force feed them, and their techniques were pretty brutal. Some would be like they would put hot coals up to their lips to try to make them open their mouth. Other times they would just whip them until they would eat. And they even had a device called the speculum oris, I believe that's how you pronounce it, but it was a screw-like device that they would use to pry open their mouth in order to get food in. And if they noticed there were some enslaved people that looked a little bit weaker, sometimes they would intentionally starve them and give a little bit more food to the stronger ones so they could get a better price. And like I mentioned in my last video, other times they would just throw the enslaved overboard if they ran low on supplies, and then claim it for insurance money, saying that they had lost cargo. Because if people died from starvation, they wouldn't get any insurance money, but if they had lost cargo, because they were allowed to throw cargo overboard in a like critical situation, so like running out of food would be that. It's just crazy even talking about humans in that way, but yeah, that's how it was back then. And in my next video we're going to talk about the time there was a successful revolt by the enslaved, and they took over a ship and killed the crew and tried to get it back to Africa, and that was called the Amistad. So if you guys are ready for that video, let me know.